And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another victorious episode of Doing the Work, the first show on the Back Home Network dedicated to covering Indiana women's basketball. This is our 102nd episode recorded on Sunday, January 28th, 2024. And I'm your host, Kathy Amos, joined by my co-host, Jeff Marlow. And today we will break down your number 13 Indiana Hoosiers win 259 win over the Northwestern Wildcats. That now brings the record to 17-2 and 8-1 in the conference. And today we're going to start every show like we will start today's show like we do every show, and that's with our Hoosier Proud banner moment. And Jeff, for me, I'm going to go to that third quarter at around the 5:48 mark, where Mackenzie came in and scored 2 points to get her 20th point. The reason I picked this is this became her 50th career game with over 20 points that she has scored. And I just thought it was really a great milestone for a player that we've really been enjoying now for almost 5 years, and really watching her moving up on the leaderboard. And we'll talk more about her numbers overall in her career coming up later in the show. But to me, that was our banner moment. And a game that really, had a lot of moments overall, I think, for the team that we'll get to in particular. But I thought for Mackenzie, this was, again, just another great milestone for her and for us as fans being able to watch her and kind of come along for this journey along with her. So for me, that was our Hoosier Proud banner moment. And our banner moment is brought to you, as always, by Home Field Apparel. They're the presenting sponsor of the Back Home Network, who also includes the Assembly Call and Crimson Cast. Home Field is constantly releasing new schools or updating their products for schools in their existing line. So you're bound to find something for you or anyone in your life that just loves great collegiate gear. And not only do you get great quality apparel, but you are supporting an Indiana-based business that has its root in the Kelley School of Business. So go to homefieldapparel.com and use our promo code HOME23 to get 15% off of your entire first order. Again, that promo code is HOME23 for 15% off. And the website is homefieldapparel.com. We're one for the team. So before we jump into the game, I'll just hit a couple of quick news headlines from the last time we had our show on Wednesday. So first, on Friday, Coach Morin has announced that Sydney Parrish is out indefinitely with a foot injury. They haven't specified what the foot injury is, but we're assuming by the time that we're kind of hearing behind the scenes that she's in a boot, she's still on crutches, she probably has some kind of fracture in her foot. So not really sure on any definite timeline, probably won't get one. So we won't know, but if we have any additional updates, we'll be sure to pass them along if we do hear them. Mackenzie Holmes was named to the Lisa Leslie Award Top 10 list, and Tara Vanderveer, an Indiana alum who is a coach out west for us now, is a huge congratulations to her because she became the all-time winningest coach ever in men or women's collegiate basketball. So really congratulations to Tara Vanderveer as well. But now let's move it over to Jeff and get Marlow's musings for today. Jeff, what's on your mind today?
Wow. I'm going to keep it kind of brief here. Just what a performance today. I mean, obviously down Sydney Parrish for the foreseeable future, and really only 9 healthy bodies. I mean, I guess there's probably a walk-on or two maybe at the end of the bench that we may not be thinking about, but really they played all 9. All 9 got double-digit minutes, and I want to save some of that for a little bit later when we get to the notable numbers. But just what again, Northwestern's not the best team in the league, but they're not the worst team in the league either. So they come out with really only 9 healthy bodies, down one of your best players, but with an injury, and they put a century mark up. So, I think if you're Terry Morin, today went about as well and fabulous, great, whatever adjective you want to give it, it went as well as it could have gone for them today, because she was able to play a lot of players, and the players that she brought in off the bench produced. And so I think that's my biggest musings today, is just a lot of depth, got them all a lot of run, and they produced.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. So why don't we just go ahead and get into it? I think this segment's going to be probably pretty brief in a big, huge margin of victory here for the women. But what kind of pivotal plays do you kind of want to start out with for us today?
Let's go right to the beginning. I mean, Mac in the first about 3 minutes and 15 seconds had the first 8 points for the Hoosiers. So that's where I'm going to kind of start off with. They made a I thought very interesting to try and trying to attack Kaylee Walsh, the big post player for Northwestern,
Mhm.
who was their leading scorer. And so I'm going to go there. That was, to me, that was got it off. Mac got off to a good start. The defense was locked in, but I'm going to go with that little first 3 minutes and 15 minutes there as my first pivotal play.
Yeah, I think the first few minutes of the game, we really got a very good glimpse into what Coach Morin and the staff were coming out with for their game plan, and that was exactly it on the offensive end. I thought it was really to get it down to McKenzie early and often, and it clearly did that, getting our first 8 points. But I think the other thing too was really ratcheting up our defense. And to me, that was one of our pivotal plays as well. Like right out of the gate, Lexi had a really fantastic steal on defense to really get the game started. And our defense, I thought, was really on point today. In fact, we held Northwestern to under 10 points in both the first and the third quarter, and only allowed 59 points total. And in fact, we probably would have held them even further below that. But we kind of let the game. I'm not going to say get away from us at all, because it certainly didn't. But we let Northwestern really score in that fourth quarter, where they had 29 points. But they only had two players in double digits, and to your point, Walsh ended up with only 7 points. So I thought that play from Lexi was a good indication of what our defense was going to be today as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go also here in the first quarter, Kathy, and I'm going to pick on a negative here. And because when you only got 9 healthy bodies, I think this is
Mhm.
important. And I mentioned this to you in the text message that we were having back and forth during the game. And I thought Jules played well today, but Jules got a really extended run in the first quarter, as did Lene and Lily. But Jules picks up a second foul with like 13 seconds to go in the quarter. And then like 6 seconds later, she picks up her third foul. First of all, you don't foul a jump shooter 17 feet from the basket. That's just kind of a cardinal rule from a coaching standpoint. And then also she's got to know she's got 2 fouls. You cannot pick up a third foul there. And with that, now again, we played well, and she'll learn from it. But that's one thing I'm sure they're going to talk to her as they go back through the film session on, because that could have been
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought that whole first quarter, we just seemed to have like I called it a foul fest in our Discord that we were having with a few folks today. And the same thing. Yarden picked up her second foul with around 6 minutes left in that first quarter as well. Yeah, and to your point, Jules ended up with 4, and Henna ended up with 4 as well. Now, to Yarden's credit, those 2 fouls ended up being the only fouls that she ended up getting. Now, she only ended up playing 18 minutes, and I think that was part of it at the beginning. Again, of course, and we'll get into it later, talking about our bench play today. That was another reason. But I thought it was really a lot of fouls. But on the other end of that, I think after that first quarter, we kind of must have had some conversations in the huddle there in between quarters, because I think we played a lot more cleanly after we had kind of that foul fest going on at the beginning. So any other overarching thoughts just in general around our defense today? Let's maybe concentrate on that.
Yeah, obviously rebounding. And I don't want to jump too far into the notable numbers here, but I will here with this. I mean, we've talked kind of all season long about the failings of Indiana to rebound, and especially rebound on the defensive end. Well, they limited Northwestern to 7. I say limited because we've had games where we've given up double digits, but they limited Northwestern to 7 defensive rebounds, and we won the rebounding battle by 19. We were plus 19. So I think that goes, again, we've talked a little bit about this before, Kathy, and Terry Morin has talked about this. Defensive possessions, it's one thing to force a miss, but then you got to get the rebound. You got to complete the possession to get the rebound. And that's been at times that's been a struggle, but so I want to talk about that. The other thing I want to get to you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I love the lineup. I don't think it'll change who starts at this point, because I just think we were texting, and I'll let you kind of go with that. But
Yeah.
I love the lineup with Lene and the other 4 starters, Chloe, Mac, Sarah, and Yarden. I really like that lineup. We saw quite a bit of that today. I also thought we got a preview of maybe possibly a lineup you'll see a lot next year with Lily and Jules and Lene and Chloe, and I believe Yarden was still out there at that time. So there were some combinations out there today that I really like. What do you think of some of those combinations?
Yeah, I did too. And, hopefully we'll be talking about Lene here later again in the podcast some more. But, in general, I thought our bench just got exactly the kind of run we were wanting to see. And, maybe that was a pivotal play I had as well. I wrote down in the fourth quarter with all of 8 minutes left, we took out all of our starters except for Lexi, which we couldn't, as you mentioned, we only had 9 healthy players. So you can't take all 5 out. But we took everyone out but Lexi, and we didn't see him again. And that's exactly what we needed. But even throughout the game, to your point, there were a lot of different combinations of players we were able to see together today. But I don't think, even though clearly Lene is a much better offensive player than Lexi is. Lexi is better on defense, and I think she'll continue to stay in that starting lineup. That would be my prediction for as long as Sydney is out. So I think we know Coach Moran at this point, and our tenure with Indiana has always valued experience, and she's always valued defense over offense. And so I think Lexi being the stronger defensive player and that she's got that extra year under her belt, I think you'll continue to see her in the starting lineup, but hopefully we'll see Lene a little bit more and more as the games kind of get a little bit tougher now as we head into this coming week. Any other pivotal plays, Jeff, that you want to talk about, or should we jump into the numbers?
Yeah, I think maybe hit the numbers here, Kathy, because once you get to that kind of lead, when it got up to 25-30, where's the pivotal play going to be in that kind of game?
Right.
So let's go to the numbers.
Exactly.
You go ahead and go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah,
Sure.
go first. I'm going to update the run sheet real quick. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, I'm going to start off with something, we don't always start off with, which is actually free throws. We made it to the line 21 times today, which was, a lot, but we made 19 of them. We've been kind of really poor in our free throw shooting all year. One of the, actually the lowest in the Big Ten. And today we shot 90%. And so that was nice to see. And especially for Mackenzie Holmes, who they were, trying to guard her, and they just really couldn't guard her. And she got to the line 9 times and knocked down all 9 of her free throws today. The only misses we had was one from Lexi Vargasser and one from Yarden. So, overall, I thought the team in general just really looked comfortable from the line today, and it really showed up. So to me, that is the one we've been kind of, negative about all year. So I wanted to point that out as a positive. What other numbers jump out to you, Jeff?
Well, I'll go to one we've talked a lot about over the last 3 years that we've been doing this show has been bench points. And
Yes.
today IU wins the bench point battle 37-25, 37 points off the bench. And with that, and then I'll kind of go along with that. You look at that, Kathy. So our bench got a lot of run. They produced. The team today scored 1.40. Excuse me. 1.41, I'll round it, 1.41 points per possession. That's a pretty high number in a D1 Big Ten level game. So just again, the players were efficient, the players were doing everything, but a huge contribution from the bench today.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, along that line with the numbers, only one player played over 30 minutes, and that was Lene Beaumont. She was the only one who played more than 30 minutes at 31. Close was behind her was Lexi Vargasser at 29. So of the 4 people who have been starters all year, nobody got over 24 minutes, and that was Sarah Scalia. So I thought that was just really good to see. I know we had talked about that in our preview show, that we really wanted to see a lot of run from our bench. And I expected that we would see an increase in numbers. I never expected that we would see this kind of increase and this kind of output too. And I kind of noted down when we first, saw the majority of our bench come in that first quarter, I noted down that at the time it was 18-4. And we stuck with that lineup the rest of that first quarter. And by the end of the first quarter, they actually had extended the lead to 27-8 at the end of the first quarter. So not only did they get a lot of great experience, but they were actually handling Northwestern. And I would assume at the time, most of Northwestern were still playing their starters in the first quarter. So against a starting Big Ten lineup, our bench was not just holding their own, but extending that lead. So loved what we saw from the bench today. The other number, I guess, again, you really touched on it in general, which was our rebounding on the defensive end. But even on the offensive end, we had 16 rebounds, and we handily out-rebounded Northwestern 43-24 today as well. What other numbers stick out for you today, Jeff?
I'm going to jump real quick. Turnovers. We've talked a lot about turnovers at times this year, especially kind of have gotten to the point where we feel like we're getting into that 15, 16, 17 range and almost kind of gotten too comfortable in there. But today, only 10 turnovers. So I thought that was a huge number. And then one that I thought was interesting, Kathy, not because it was bad, but just to a certain degree, I think we were able to do some things off the dribble today that we hadn't been able to do against other teams. There was only 19 assists on 37 made baskets. So roughly about 50% assist rate. That's extremely low for this team. And I'm not saying that's a negative. It just shows you how much, A, some of the putbacks off missed shots, and B, players being able to do some things off some drive that they weren't necessarily, that maybe they didn't get against some other teams. But I thought that was an interesting number for this team, only about 50% assist rate.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, it wasn't like we were shooting the ball poorly. We had 54% field goal percentage and 35% from three. But, the points in the paint, I think to your point, 58 points to 30 for Northwestern. I think a lot of it, and it wasn't just Mackenzie. I mean, she did have 27 points. 9 of those were from the line, but still 58 points in the paint. I thought we were doing a lot better job driving the ball. You saw that from Chloe at the beginning of the second half. In particular, I thought where she was really aggressive. I thought Lene was aggressive, trying to dribble the ball down. So I agree with you. I think that it's an interesting number, but not in a negative way. It was just a different way that we ended up scoring today. Instead of shooting more from longer range, I think we had a lot more in the paint points today. Let's see what other numbers. So I do want to point out we had, all 9 of our available players did play. Everyone but Lexi Vargas scored. So Lexi had a chance at the free throw line, and we've talked before about her shooting and her shot. Technique is not probably the most desirable and most efficient, and I think that really showed from her today. So I thought that was kind of if we're going to try to find any negative, that's my one negative today. It's kind of hard when you blow out a team 159. I feel like I'm searching, like I have to find a negative, and I really don't. But it's something, again, we have to watch as this team goes forward, as Lexi is going to really be taking up a lot of the minutes from Sydney. She has to find some kind of way to produce a little bit more offensively. Like 0 in a game where we put up 100, to me was really kind of telling for her as an offensive player. So really glad that she's there for us defensively. I think she does a pretty good job, facilitating. She did lead the team with 4 assists. And she did a nice job rebounding too. She had 9 rebounds, but somehow I would like to see that 0 points go up a little bit. And again, she's not going to be Sydney where she can really fire it up a lot, but at least, give us 5, 6, 7, 8 points even from time to time, I think would really go a long way, especially in our upcoming 2 games where it's going to be a lot tougher on us than it was today.
Well, I'll go there a little bit on Lexi, but she also had 4 turnovers, and that, when you're the starting point guard, or at least somebody who's going to handle the ball a lot, I think that's a number that you got to be able to get down. And right now, I made the comment on Discord, I'm not trying to be totally negative on it, but right now, I don't trust Lexi shooting the ball much more than a layup. And that's
right.
And that's an issue. And that may be the one thing as we go farther, depending upon how long Sydney is actually out, that will get Lene more and more time, because I think Lene has the offensive game. The question will be whether they trust her enough defensively and whether she can perform well enough defensively. But I think there are times when you have to maybe, and again, this is not Terry Morin's philosophy. This is Jeff Marlow's philosophy, because we know Terry Morin doesn't like to give up on the defensive end. But there may be a point where you have to, Lexi's minutes are going to come a little bit more, to Lene if we need to, we need some scoring. Problem is right now is, we said it already, with only 9 healthy bodies, you are to a certain degree limited what your rotations are going to be. And especially if people get in foul trouble, and that's going to be, that's also something that's going to play into the factor. Kathy, again, wasn't necessarily a negative for me per se. But I wanted to point out, on the numbers, we talked about Lexi having a good day overall, the 9 rebounds, but you look at somebody like, or excuse me, lost my train of thought. 8 players scored. 8 players scored. Yes. 6 were in double figures.
Yes.
I wanted to point that out I want to
offensive
point,
explosion today.
yeah, I wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
But if they also share the ball, I mean, I know it doesn't show up in the assists, and Mac had the 27, but then you look at it, everybody else was 11 to 15. The other 5 who were in double figures were 11 to 15. So they were sharing the ball, they were sharing the wealth. They just didn't show up in the assist number. That's the last really notable number I've got.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. I think I think we've kind of tied a bow on this one. So maybe we can just go ahead then and move into our game ball and hardest worker. I don't think there are any other numbers really to talk about this in a 100-point game. So for those of you watching on the YouTube feed, you can see on the bottom of the screen there our scroll that has the game ball so far this year. So Mackenzie Holmes leads the way with 7, Sarah Scalia with 4, Sydney Parrish and Yarden Gazone both with 3, and Chloe Moore McNeil with 1. So Jeff, I think you could go in like about 9 different directions almost, maybe not quite 9, but I think you have quite a few players here that you can pick for your hardest worker. So who would you like to give your vote to?
Are we on hardest worker or game ball?
Oh, I'm sorry, game ball. Yes.
Okay.
I'm speeding myself up, evidently.
No, I think we're all there, but I just wanted to make sure because I thought maybe I missed something. I was trying to respond to somebody in the chat. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go here. I mean, you can make an argument a little bit for Yarden. She was 6 for 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from deep, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And with 15 points, you can make a little bit of an argument even for possibly Lily or Lene. But I'm going to go to Mac here because I just thought it was the start of the first half, and then she kind of really middle of the third quarter. I thought she kind of cemented it. Really, I mean, it was probably never in jeopardy, and it really wasn't going to get close. But she had a nice little segment there that really kind of put it away before she went out for the rest of the third quarter. So again, you already talked a little bit about 27 points, 9 of 14 shooting, 9 of 9 at the line, 11 rebounds, a double for Mac. And she had a steal. So in 20 minutes, 27 points in 20 minutes, I'm going with Mac.
Yeah. Then I'm going to make that actually unanimous, Jeff, because Mackenzie had my vote as well. I mean, she had a double, like you mentioned, 27 points, 11 rebounds. She's moving up on that list for all-time career scoring, her rebounding as well. And, we'll give those exact numbers in a little bit. But what I really like from her was actually a 0, which was in the turnover column. She had no turnovers today. I thought her footwork looked a little bit better than we've kind of been seeing from her in past games. Again, different defense levels today that she had against Northwestern, but still, we've been seeing a little bit more happy feet from her, if you will. And so it was nice to see her get that cleaned up a little bit. Well, let's go ahead then and move in for real to our Grace Berger Hardest Worker Award. So Sydney Parrish leads the way there with 5, Mackenzie Holmes with 4, Chloe Moore McNeil with 3, Lexi Bargesser has 2 for us, and Sarah Scalia has 2. Lene Beaumont and Lily Meister both have 1. So this one for sure, Jeff, I'm quite sure you could go a number of different ways. So I'm kind of curious who you would like to vote for today. I have somebody in my head, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument here for Chloe, 5 for 8, 2 rebounds, 3 assists and a steal in 23 minutes for her 10 points. But for me, it really, and I'm still maybe not sure who I want to go with here. To me, it really boiled down to Lily and Lene. Lily was 5 for 8 from the field, 3 of 3 at the line. She had 3 rebounds, 3 turnovers though for Lily, and a block shot. So, for her 13 points. Lene, 11 points, 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 3 at the line, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, only 1 turnover. And there's just something I thought about that lineup, and I think Lily has such a huge, bright future for this group. You saw today what she can do when she gets a lot of minutes next year and the year after replacing Mackenzie. But I'm going to go with Lene today. I just felt like Lene brought a little bit of a spark, and I thought we saw really what Lene has the potential to do on a regular basis.
Yeah, I agree. For me, that's who I kind of came down to as well. Both of those ladies, Lene and Lily, both had career days in terms of scoring and their output. I thought Lily had a couple of moments in particular where she really showed where you could tell that Mackenzie has been mentoring her, with some of the moves and her up and unders that she was doing, shooting 5 of 8. I thought that she had some really nice moves. Lene too, leading the team in minutes there and getting a lot of run. And so to me, it did come down to kind of that turnover. And Lene only had one and Lily 3. And so for me, I ended up finally settling on Lene as well. So I guess maybe this wasn't as hard for us as I was expecting it to be. So congratulations to Lene. That brings that to her second Grace Berger hardest worker of the year. So.
Go ahead. I got something I want to add in here though, real quick. Yeah, I just Sydney's been leading this for a while, but there's going to be unfortunately going to be an opportunity for people to catch up to Sydney now.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we move on to talking about our next game, let's do our MAC watch here. So today, again, Mackenzie had 27 points and 11 rebounds. So now she has 81 points to take over that first time, or actually that would be to tie it. So 82 would put her completely in first by herself. If she continues to score right around the 20-point mark, that is going to be really close to having her take that in the Purdue game. If not, it will be the Wisconsin game right after that. Again, if she is averaging right around the 20 points that she's been averaging all year. So it's probably going to be in the next 4 to 5 games, hopefully, if she continues playing the way that she has been. So really exciting there. We'll keep a close eye on that as we are going forward. With her 11 rebounds today, though, that she is really creeping up that list as well. She started off the year at 8th. She's currently in 6th. To take over 5th place spot, she needs 13 more rebounds. So that looks really within her grasp as well. So she has a total of 911 rebounds on her career as well.
And so, Kathy, real quick before we move on to their number there, think about that number. Depending upon how she finishes out the year, and there's still over 10 games left, plus barring injury and anything, she's going to finish with over 2,000 points and quite possibly 1,000 rebounds.
1,000 rebounds. Yeah, I was going to point that out too, Jeff. So thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, Kathy.
That's all right. Great minds, right? Great minds think alike. So I think, again, back to why I picked that bucket for her at the kind of the Hoosier Proud banner moment for me, again, is just, again, the numbers that she's putting up. It's just been really fantastic to watch her really grow over her 5 years. So just a joy. So before we talk about our upcoming game though, Jeff, any other final thoughts on today's game?
No, it was, like I said, Kathy, I think as Coach Morin and for us as a fan base and for us on the podcast, today was a game that you really liked. You're off for a week and you were one of your best players, maybe an all-league type player, is out indefinitely. We don't know for sure how long, but it doesn't look like she's going to be back anytime soon. So to put 100 up on a Big Ten opponent down, like I said, to Sydney Parish. And I thought, again, pretty efficient. I mean, remember, we said 1.41 points per possession. I think everything went today about as well as you could. Now you want to hopefully bottle that and see if you can take it on the road to Maryland on Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great. Well, that's a fantastic segue into our upcoming game. So let's go ahead and hit Maryland. So Jeff, I'll kind of get us started here and then kick it over to you. So Maryland is playing Wednesday night, January 31st. That game, I believe, is on the road, if I remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so that game will tip off at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. It will be aired on Peacock. Before their game today, Maryland was number 26 in the net. And according to Charlie Cream from ESPN, they are slotted in at maybe a number 9 seed for the tournament. In terms of history, Maryland leads the series 12-3, but IU has won the last 2. Their last meeting was last year at home on January 12th, and we won that game 67-61. However, we are 0-6 at the Xfinity Center up in Maryland. In terms of coaching, Brenda Fries is their head coach there. She's been there for quite a while. She's in her 22nd season with Maryland. She's had 25 overall, including 2 at Ball State. In terms of her career, she's 575 and 154, which is a 78% win record. And she is 161 and 28 in Big Ten. Under Brenda's watch, Maryland has won 6 Big Ten regular season titles, and 5 Big Ten tournament titles. So, however, we'll be getting a Maryland team that just came off of a thumping from Penn State earlier today. Penn State won that game 112-76 at Penn State. Maryland let Penn State score 67 points in the second half alone. So I'll be really curious now if we get a really angry Maryland team going up there. But Jeff, do you want to kind of talk about some of the numbers for the team and individuals for Maryland?
Yeah, and Kathy, I do agree with you a little bit about an angry team, but this isn't quite, and knock on wood, that doesn't mean we're going to win. It's still going to be a tough game, especially without Sid, but it's not the same kind of dominant Maryland team that you've seen in the past. It is not that group right now. And I think one of the things they're struggling with a little bit is they're used to kind of walking into an arena and everybody going, ooh, that's Maryland. And that aura is gone a little bit right now from them. And I don't, and Penn State's legit. We've been trying to tell people a little bit on the podcast and then text messaging with people. Penn State, now that they're healthy with Marissa and Owusu's playing, they're legit and they're going to give teams trouble, especially in Happy Valley. I still want to see how they go out and play on the road. The only game I've seen them really on the road since then is at Northwestern. And even Northwestern was giving them a little bit of fits up in Evanston. So, with that. So the team is averaging going into today. These numbers are going to change. So these are all based on before today. They're averaging about 81 a game, which is 5th in the league. They're giving up 73 a game, which is 13th. They're the next to last in defensive average. Shooting about 45%, which is 7th in the league, and 36% from deep, which is 6th. And they shoot 79% at the line, which is 2nd in the league. So Kathy, it's really it's on the defensive end for them right now, as much as anything. They're just, it's becoming, they're a plus 2.5 in rebound margin, which is 9th. They're plus 1.6 on turnover margin, which is 8th, basically puts them right in the middle of the league. Their best player and overall, this will be interesting to see how she plays on Wednesday. Cheyenne Sellers, 6'2" junior guard. She's averaging coming into today 16 a game, which is 7th in the league, 6 rebounds a game, 17th in the league, 5.4 assists, which is 4th. She's averaging 1.6 steals, which is 11th. 43% from the field, which is 15th. She's 29% on 3-point field goal percentage, which is pretty low. And she's 87% at the line for third. This is one of the best players in the league. In fact, she was an all Big Ten selection last year by the media, 2nd team by the coaches. She was on the all defensive team last year. She was the 6th player of the year in the Big Ten in 2022. So this is one of the best players. And you just don't want to let her get hot. This is one of those, you don't want to let Cheyenne Sellers go off for like 30. And with that, then their other 2 double-digit scores are Bree McDaniel, 5'10" sophomore guard, who's averaging 13 a game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, almost 2 steals a game, shooting 48% and 46% from 3, 84% at the line. This is this is 2nd team in the league. And then Jakaya Brown Turner, 6-foot graduate guard, who is averaging 12 a game, just a little over 5 rebounds and just under 2 assists a game. But her shooting is 43%, 24% from 3. So they shoot it all right, but overall the 3 may be what's kind of hurting them a little bit as well. And Brown had spent her first 3 years at North Carolina State. She's finishing up her 2nd year and her last year at Maryland. So again, it's not the typical Maryland team, but there are some weapons there, Kathy.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems like Maryland is a Heckle and Clyde. Yeah, they
Jekyll
just can't seem to be. Thank you, Jekyll and Hyde. Whew. They just can't. Words today, I guess, which is really great when you're doing a podcast. But yeah, they just can't seem to be consistent. And, I understand, right, that Penn State is, at full strength now with everyone back. And I really don't want people to sleep on Penn State. Understand they're very formidable, but to allow 67 points and a half just really does tell you a lot about their defense. They're almost last in the league with points given up. It's almost 73 points per game. So I think, Jeff, you're right on track there. It seems to be where they're kind of falling down is on the defensive end. But they just don't seem to get together. But then, they have other games where they've been really close and pull it out. I think we just saw that earlier this week, didn't they? I think won in overtime, right? If I remember correctly, I'm looking it up. No,
Talking
they
about Maryland.
just lost. Sorry, to
Yeah, they
Michigan
lost to
by
Michigan.
2 in overtime. Yeah, sorry, they ended up losing that. But yeah, so we just can't seem to understand which Maryland team we're going to get. So they do tend to play a little better at home, but even still, Illinois came in and almost beat them and only won by 8 there towards the end. And Purdue, they handled them pretty well. So I don't know what to think of them. And so I think we need to be obviously really prepared for them, as we do every game. For me, I think it's going to come down to, kind of if we can shoot the ball or not. And hopefully with the kind of defensive numbers we're seeing from Maryland, that's something we can go in and do. But we've also seen on the road that our 3 ball kind of goes away from us as well. But Jeff, do you have any keys to the game that you're going to be really looking for in this game besides maybe our 3-point shooting, which that is my key I think I'm going to be watching for?
It'll come down to rebound. Rebounding is one thing I'm going to watch on, Kathy, because if you go to her hoop stats numbers, I use 105th in rebound rate. Now, again, this is before today, and Maryland's 119th. So those 2 teams right now about even on, at least statistically, on the glass. So who can win that battle of the glass? If one team can dominate the other team on the glass, that's going to be something I'm really going to keep an eye on. And then again, we talked a little bit about it as well throughout the podcast, but the defensive efficiency. IU is 70th on her hoop stats and defensive efficiency, which again, that doesn't sound great, but again, IU plays a little more up tempo. They're given, they're going to be a little more, from that standpoint. Plus, the 2 games they've lost, they've really looked bad on the defensive end. But Maryland's 205th. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about on the defensive end. Maryland's 205th on the defensive efficiency chart. With that, I will say this: get your thoughts on this. Her hoop stats gives Indiana a 61% chance of winning, and their predicted score is 78-74. But again, that was before today.
Right. I'd be curious how, 2 blowout games for each of these teams to really swing those numbers. I'm not sure how much they swing them one way or another, but yeah, to your point again, defensive effective rating of 205 rating for Maryland just isn't boding well, and it kind of backs up what we're really been saying. And the other side of that, we are scoring our points per possession for Indiana is 4th, according to that her hoop stat as well. And so we can definitely put up a lot of points. We're really averaging quite a bit more than what our Maryland's even giving up to. So I just think that. To me, shooting, and I agree with you, rebounding, and those have really been the 2 keys we've been talking about all year on the road for sure. Anything else, Jeff, that you're kind of watching for in this game or want to talk about with it coming up?
Fouls will be a big thing because we can't afford to get in foul trouble on the road, especially with in the starters, obviously, but it'll be certain starters. Yarden can't pick up with 2 quick ones. Mack can't pick up 2 quick ones. I mean, you really want to keep those starters on the floor, and somebody like Jules can't come out and get 2 fouls in the first quarter either, because we don't have much depth, and we need everybody available for as long as they can go Wednesday and next weekend against Ohio State. So fouls will be a big thing as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. With only, again, 9 available players, we're assuming that it will be the same heading into this Maryland game coming up, that we're not going to get any of those other 3 players back, especially not Sydney. But, even if, say, an Ariel Wisney would be coming back, she's not really been a contributor anyway. So we're really looking at 9 players probably regardless. And so when you only have 9 and the experience of the other 4 coming off of the bench, we really are going to have our starters probably start playing some extended minutes in these tougher games.
And we probably should have mentioned this in the news. One of the things that Coach Morin mentioned in her press availability on Friday is that Sharnice Curry-Jelks is dealing with some personal issues and probably not going to be, she's not available for the foreseeable future either. So again, like you said, it's going to be the 9 you have right now. And you can't afford an injury to any of them at this point, because then you get even thinner.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we've been talking about it all year, is the production of our bench. Well, not even just this year. It's been a theme really since we started this podcast now in our 3rd season, where we just don't have the bench depth. Now, today went a ways towards developing that. The question, of course, will be, what do you do, especially on the road against tougher team, which, maybe Maryland's not the Maryland we've seen in the past couple of years, but I would say they're a higher caliber than what we saw from Northwestern today, for sure. And you're going into an on the road environment where you just, don't know what the crowd's going to do for them as well. So I just really hope that our bench is able to grow from today's game enough that, we can have some good, productive minutes from them, not just minutes where they're giving people a rest, but they need to be productive as well.
And it doesn't always points. Get rebounds, get assists, get a steal. The points are nice. Don't get me wrong. I like seeing 37 points in the bench points, but production is also just putting up. We would talk with our players about, put a crooked number up somewhere. Put a crooked number up in the rebounds. Put a crooked number up in assists. Don't just have a goose egg.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jeff, let's hit what happened around the Big Ten since our last show, which was on Wednesday. I'll cover maybe Thursday's games and yesterday. And if you want to talk about what's going on today, that'd be great. So in terms of, we're just picking out key games. So Ohio State did beat Illinois on the road, 67-59 on Thursday. And then yesterday, Iowa at home beat Nebraska quite handily, 92-73. Caitlin Clark put up yet another game where she got almost 40 points. I think she had 37 points in that game. And then Michigan State at home easily handled Michigan, 82-61. So again, Michigan's another one of those, to me, I think, kind of surprising team. And Michigan State on the good way of being surprising, and that score pretty much said that to us there, 82-61. So what's happening today? There's a lot of Big Ten games going on today, Jeff.
Yeah, that really were kind of interesting from the Big Ten standings perspective. You already mentioned Penn State, a 112-76 victory in Happy Valley, and they scored 67 in the second half. So that moves them to 6-3 on the league season. Ohio State was able to get out of Mackey with a 71-68 win. And Illinois just finished up beating Minnesota. To talk about another, Minnesota wins one, you're thinking, okay, then they'll go lose one. So, but Illinois wins 73-68 in Champaign. So if you look at the Big Ten standings as of today, as best I can tell, if I think I've updated them correctly, you have three teams tied at the top who have kind of separated themselves: Iowa, IU, Ohio State at 8-1. Then Penn State's right now alone in fourth at 6-3. And then you got Nebraska, Michigan State, and Michigan at 5-4. But again, I think those four teams are all playing for that fourth spot and see if they can get that double bye in the Big Ten tournament.
I agree. Yeah, I got it pulled up here as well. So, and then right behind them is Minnesota at 4-4 and Maryland at 4-5. So
Minnesota drops to 4. Minnesota drops to 4-5 with that loss.
Oh, well, ESPN hasn't updated theirs yet then. So,
no.
Yeah. And poor Rutgers again lost. So they are now 0-9 in the league. So anything else around the Big Ten, Jeff, or should we kind of move on to final thoughts and wrap things up?
No, I don't have anything, Kathy.
Nope. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and talk about our final thoughts? And Jeff, sorry. I was thinking about final thoughts already. I'm like, oh, you don't have any? That's not Jeff-like.
No, I meant about the Big Ten. Final thoughts today. Good win. And again, everything you could have wanted out of this game against one of the lower teams of the Big Ten. You look good offensively. You look good defensively. Everybody played a lot of minutes and they were productive. I don't think you can ask for anything more. If you're Terry Moore, and today was about as close to an A+ game as you can probably have.
Yeah, absolutely. No complaints whatsoever about this game. And again, if we're going to nitpick, it would just be a little bit from trying to figure out how to get Lexi going offensively, just a little bit. But overall, loved watching this game today. It was actually quite a bit of fun. Really, really loved seeing what we could potentially see from this team next year on the floor together. So that was also a lot of fun. So Jeff, those are my final thoughts for today as well. So before I talk about what's next, I should kind of go back I'm going to rewind all the way to the news section. I should mention that if you ever listen to the radio feed, Nicole Cardano Hillary has now joined Austin Render on the call. So yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, Mike, in the chat here today. So I did get to listen to it a little bit off and on today. Pretty slow getting into it. She had during the game, during the off times, like in the halftime especially, she had some really nice commentators. So I'm looking forward to being able to hopefully sync that radio feed to the TV as we move forward, so that we can listen to Nicole and welcome her back again into the Indiana family as a full-time employee. So thanks to her. In terms of what's coming up next for us, so we will return on Wednesday after the Maryland game. Again, that tip time is 7 Eastern, 6 Central. So we should be on around 9 Eastern or 8 Central. One other reminder, if you haven't heard already, next weekend is the Assembly Call Meetup, which is officially on Saturday, February 3rd. I will most definitely be there during the game at Penn State. I will also be in town Friday. So if you're around and trying to find the Assembly Call guys, I will be there as well. Would love to meet any of you that are out there. Jeff is a maybe as well, so he might pop in hopefully on Saturday afternoon. But if you're out and about Bloomington or in town for the weekend, if you don't live there, would hopefully love to see anybody and meet some new people, at least in person.
And Kathy, that's I can't remember. I just know it is upstairs, but it's like upstairs brew club, upstairs,
Upstairs pub, yeah. Yep. So that meetup will be after the game, upstairs pub. And during the game, I believe Galen and Scott from Crimson Cast will be there during the game. So if you're not going to the game, but in Bloomington, you can go hang out with them during the game and watch it there. And then everybody that is going to the game will be going there later, and we will be doing a live show. And I think we'll be getting a few surprises along the way, including, I think, we're getting a little segment for doing the work to get to pop on there, even though it's a men's post-game show. So really excited about that. So appreciate all of that. But for us, if you want to see us do the show live and be part of our live chat, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/@BackHomeNetwork. That's the @ symbol. You can also be part of our private community. Find out more at assemblycall.substack.com. A very special thanks to John Ringer of Riggs Design for designing our logos. Big thank you to Bob Thompson for our music that you heard throughout the broadcast. And most of all, thank you all for being here and listening. We will be back to talk hoops with you, IU hoops again with you on Wednesday. But until then, keep your elbow in, your eyes on the rim, and let's go Hoosiers. And there goes my dog.
Hey, he's making such a big deal about how Wednesday night was his 100th episode. No offense to any of the other workaholics, but where's Quang? We don't know Quang today.
I know. This is only the second one I missed. So, he wasn't in the Discord today either. So sorry.
I know. Where's Quang?
Yeah, so cool. I know. I even tried calling him into the Discord and he still didn't hear anything. So he must have something going on. Hopefully everything's good for him. So, well, Jeff, I think this has been a great show. So thanks for hanging out with us on a Sunday afternoon. That was a lot of fun.
Now we'll go watch some football.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
all right. See you, everyone.